Hey guys, I had a comment in one of my older videos, and the guy asked me about, I guess, my recommendations for like cues under $1,000. And I thought about that. And it's not really something I want to do is make recommendations uh, for several reasons. One is, why should you buy a cue? Because somebody on the internet says you should buy a cue. And, it, and the other reason is I just don't have that much experience with those cues, with all the cues that are out there. I know what I like, but that doesn't mean there's not something else that's just as good or maybe even better. And another reason would be that everybody is different. While I just absolutely love the hit on a Joss cue and a P-Chart cues, somebody else might say, "Oh, that's too hard of a hit. They want a softer hit." So therefore, if I recommend a P-Chart to somebody and they like a softer hitting cue, they decide I was an asshole. They'd at least decide I was wrong. That's that's the thing, is I'm not wrong. I'm just, for me, that's my opinion, and that's kind of what it all is about. Start talking about getting a cue on a budget. There's several reasons, and most of them are completely valid reasons. Maybe you just don't have enough money. Maybe you think it's silly to spend that much money. Maybe you have kids, whatever. Um, the first thing I thought about was, like, when I was first starting to play, if I had a bunch of money back then, I didn't. I wouldn't have gone out and spent a few $1,000s or whatever on a pool cue, because I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I liked. And a lot of people starting out now, they just don't know. They don't want to go out and spend $1,000, say, on a cue and find out, well, it's got too hard of a hit, or they need low deflection, or they want low deflection, and the cue comes with a stock shaft. Maybe it's, a low score shaft is really important to them. Those shafts are pretty expensive. You start talking about carbon fiber shafts, they're like $400 shafts. So that could eat into your budget. I remember saying, back in the 80s and 90s, but back then, $100 to $200, you could buy a fantastic plain pool cue. Probably wouldn't look all that fancy. It would play just like anything that you could spend money on. It would play just absolutely great. Times have changed a little bit. Not that much, though. You can still get a fantastic plain cue for under $1,000. A lot of things have gone up in price way more than 2x or 3x in the last 30, 40 years. Gas is like 10 times more expensive, for example. But pool cues are not 10 times more expensive. They can be if you want to spend for all the fanciness and all that. But what I say was, there's a minimum amount that you should spend to get a quality cue. I used to teach a class on quality back in the 80s. And one of the definitions we came up with was, quality is a measurement of the ability of a product to meet its requirements. That seems simple enough, and it is. The tough part is to list those requirements, make them specific, not just an implied requirement. An example that I used to have a Schmelke cue. Before I even had my McDermott D12, I had a Schmelke cue. And it was a fine cue. I thought I played league with it, I broke with everything. Fine. One time it fell over and hit the floor, the carpeted floor, and broke in half right here. So I think one of the requirements for a pool cue is to not break in half the first time it hits the floor. Means, to me, that cue was not a quality product. I didn't know that at the time. I thought, hell, I spent whatever, $50 on it. It must be a good cue. I was mistaken. I don't think I like this shot very much anyway. There's a cat. I don't know if y'all can see the cat, but the cat means I will miss most, if not all, of my shots. A couple of years ago, I was down at Buffalo's in New Orleans playing Richie Richardson and Bancourt. And we played for several hours, and then we ended up dead even in games, and then Richie left. He left the cue he'd been using on the table. Turned out the cue he'd been using was a house cue. Not a Sneaky Pete, a house cue from Buffalo's. I don't know if he got lucky and picked a really good one, or if maybe he had it marked some way that was his special one, or maybe all the house cues at Buffalo's are fantastic. Don't know. All I know is me and a friend of Richie's then kind of steered him to me. We spent the next several hours bullshitting and playing with that house cue. And we both said, yeah, this thing is fantastic. If that's all a person needs, that was probably a $5, $10 cue, you know. So one of the things about less expensive stuff is sometimes you're going to get lucky. They're not going to be as consistent from cue to cue to cue, but every now and then you're going to get a really good one. And at least that house cue that Richie's been using was a really good one. But a lot of people don't want to carry a house cue around. They want something with a joint in the middle. So like the next step up would probably be just a plain Jane, as plain as you can get at Sneaky Pete. That joint costs money though. So is it worth it to you to spend that money on a cue that comes apart? For most people, yeah, it definitely is. Of course, then you have to worry about a case, but I'm not even talking about that right now. I think you start out with a good, solid cue. Get a quality cue. You might have to spend some more money for that quality, but it will be worth it in the end. Then you can just start adding on stuff that some people might think is stupid or silly. Like a wrap. I like a wrap. I don't like wrapless cues. My hands sweat, and if all I'm ever doing is gripping this, it starts feeling a little bit gross to me. So I like a wrap on the cue, and I also like a leather wrap on the cue because it stays cleaner longer. Leather wrap costs money. Costs more money than no wrap, and it certainly costs more money than an Irish linen wrap. But for me, that's worth it. For some people, they might go, no, that's not worth it, Dave, you dumbass. It's perfectly fine. I don't want to make a recommendation. I'm not going to recommend somebody or anybody go out, oh, make sure you get a leather wrap on your cue because they're the best wrap. For me, they're the best wrap. For somebody else, the best thing might be no wrap. But something's wrong with this 5. Did you notice that? I can't even blame the cat on that when she's way over there. Anything you spend, and this is a guess for me, okay? I don't buy very many new cues. I buy a lot of used stuff, or I win stuff in raffles, stuff like that. Anything you spend, probably over about $300, let's say, is going to be just for fanciness and stuff. Unless you're talking about a low squirt shaft. Because that could be a $400 investment right there. A low squirt shaft. If you want 2 shafts, a lot of people have 2 shafts. yeah, the price can go up pretty quickly. But if all you're looking to get is just bare bones, is that maybe you don't know what it is you even like, but you don't want to get a piece of crap. You don't want to go and buy a Walmart special and get a piece of crap, and the wrap's going to fall off in a day, and the tip's going to be awful. You don't. I don't think you want to do that. I would never recommend somebody do that, because if they're trying to find out what they like in a cue, they're never gonna like that. They're never gonna like a piece of crap, I don't think. I feel like I'm yammering, but I do that a lot. Wait for the bank pool tournament to start. They always do a Calcutta, which takes a million years. I don't know. I think sometimes I think the guy's just in love with the sound of his own voice, and that's why they do the Calcutta on the pay-per-view and all that. But then again, maybe a lot of people are in that Calcutta. Why did I shoot that ball straight in? Why did y'all let me shoot that ball straight in? Was supposed to bank it. Was supposed to bank that one too. I think I'm done. So the guy that asked my recommendations, like I said, I don't really have any, and if I did, I probably wouldn't want to do it. The reason I don't have any is because I've only had experience with just a few of those lower end cues. I haven't shot with all of them. I've never shot with a Lucasi, for example. That might be the best hitting damn cue on the planet. I don't know because I've never hit a ball with one. Or maybe some Lucasis or players are really, really great, and some of them aren't. That maybe they're not as consistent as some of the higher end stuff, the Jacobys and Joshes and PTRs, things like that. I just don't know. And I also don't know what's important to people. Do they want a low squirt? Do they want a good solid hit? Do they want to be able to put an extension on a cue? All these things can add to the whatever everything's going to cost. If somebody handed me $1,000 and says, "Hey, I want a really good pull cue for $1,000," what would I recommend to them? I'm not saying that what I'm going to recommend is better than anything else you could spend $1,000 on or less even. I'm saying just based on my experience, this is, I would say the person could not go wrong. They could not go wrong, but they'd have the same kind of taste as me. So this is what I would do. I would take the $1,000 and I would spend about 600 of it on a PTR. This one came with a PTR Rogue carbon fiber shaft. If you wanted just a wood shaft, PTRs all hit fantastic. If you didn't care as much about the low squirt characteristics, then an all wood PTR shaft will probably knock off $150 off this price. Just a guess, I just really don't know. This cue, as a playing cue, this setup is fan-freaking-tastic. It doesn't have bells and whistles. It doesn't even have a wrap. No fancy inlays and all this and that. Just nice and plain, but plays fantastic. So once I spent the money on this, then I would spend a little bit extra money, and I would get the extension and the extension kit for the PTR. I think it ended up being about $150, maybe $200 total for the extension and the fitting to accept the extension. I like the extensions on the cues. So this would be my setup. If somebody gave me $1,000, said, buy me something that is going to play very well. Again, I would say, you know what? I don't feel like I'm worthy to be spending your money because I don't know what you like, what is important to you, whatever. What if somebody doesn't give an absolute crap at all about an extension? What if they're 8 feet tall? But they absolutely want a cork wrap? You know, I don't know. I don't know who makes a good cork wrap. What if they don't like the carbon fiber shafts, but you know they like the Predator shafts?